this isn't me trying to sell you a referendum or sell you a whatever. It's really selfish. It's my chance to hear what's on your mind. And so what I do is I write down 3 things, and I always try to have 3 takeaways. That's really selfish, but for me. 3 things that I didn't know right now, but in an hour and a half, I'll know. So we'll just start, go down the list. They're not in any order of, if that's okay. Fire station. Come on in, make yourself comfortable. Yeah, we were joking. We said it's like church. You show up late, you're in the front pew. So fire station update. Background on it. I think for about 3 years now, the city has said, gee, we need to do something with the fire station. Actually longer than that, but for the last 3 years, it's kind of been on the front burner. And what they did in 2022 is we merged the ambulance district with the fire district and created the Baraboo Fire and EMS district, which has 5 members. It's the town of Greenfield, the town of Baraboo, the village of West Baraboo, Fairfield, and the city of Baraboo. And this group runs the fire and EMS. The proposal is they really have no money. So the fire station would have to be owned by the city of Baraboo, or one of the 5 individual municipal members. We're obviously the logical owner because we're the biggest. So what the city did is about 2 years ago, maybe a little longer, it's okay, they approached the CDA and they asked them to do a deal like we did with City Hall. What we did on City Hall is we borrowed the money through the Community Development Authority, the CDA. They're able to borrow from the USDA, now the abbreviations here now, and they took a 40-year loan on City Hall. Well, they wanted to do this, and they also did on this building another 40-year loan. And what that does is inside the city, you have what's called your general operating budget. And your general operating budget has to pay for everything you do operationally. And also there's a state rule and a local ordinance that says we can only borrow 3% or up to 3% of our net equalized value. Now, if I haven't lost all of you by now, it's amazing. Net equalized value is basically the value of everything, all property in the city of Baraboo. And I round numbers because I'm not smart enough to do the detail. $1.5 billion. If you take everything in the city of Baraboo, the value is $1.5 billion. 3%, you can't borrow more than that. Yep.
Is that assessed value or market value?
That is assessed value. Thank you for asking that. That's, yeah, there again, right, because now there's different, but you have to use a number, and that's the number they use. And so we presently have $30 million of debt, but on top of that 30, we borrowed $16 million for City Hall, and we borrowed $6 million for this building. This building was more than that, but there was a very gracious gift given, and that's how this building happened. So if we were to borrow for the fire station, we have to be careful because it could take our debt up to the max. That is a long-winded explanation of that, wasn't it? So what the city said is, hey, let's borrow off the balance sheet. Let's borrow over here, and let's use that to build the fire station. Well, nothing does slow like government. They're really good at it. It took 2 years to get the loan approved. Meanwhile, I'm just going to give the detail and not my opinion. I really just want to try to do that. So my wife's here, so she will correct me when I start to go off the track and try to give my opinion. So the city came up with a plan. They hired an architect, they hired an engineer, and the fire chief came up with a plan with no budget. And they designed a 2-station solution, one on the west side of town, a big station, and one on the east side of town. And the reason they did the 2 stations is if you put the station on the west side, how do you service the east side? You have to have another station over there, at the very least for ambulance. With me so far? If you are, you're amazing. That solution was $32 million. If we do that solution, $32 million times 4.25% times 40 years, your annual debt service payment would be $1.7 million. We pay, it's $1.7 million right now. The total gross operating budget of the city of Baraboo is $10 million. So it's a big number. And from a tax standpoint, it would raise your taxes 15%. Okay? Just so you look at that and you're kind of like, yikes. One thing the city council did do got slowdown. In number 2 place for slowdown is behind the federal government is city municipal government. We said, hey, we're not gonna do this unless the entire district's on board with us. So all 5 members have to be on board. And the other 4 of the 5 members said, no way, Jose, not gonna happen. So the city wants to do it, but if you wanna do it, you gotta pay the whole thing. So a group got together, the ad hoc committee, and they said, hey, we think we can design a fire station and we think we can put it downtown. And if we put it downtown, you don't need to. They have designed a station that would be on the present station site. I can give you more detail, but for the sake of this, it's there. It does accommodate everything the new station had. It does not have a ballroom that seats 400. The new station has a ballroom that seats 400. Again, I want to be careful here, but if you brought every firefighter in and all the office people in for a meeting, that's 40 people. It has a ballroom that seats 400. And it has a regional training center, even though we have a letter from MATC saying we're not doing regional training in Baraboo. We like to do it at the Truax Field campus. We just enhance that. That's what we do. Other than that, the downtown station actually has 4,200 more square feet for apparatus than the 2-station solution. So the downtown station cost, well, it hasn't been cost out, but they used a builder to cost it out. It's not, as you know, if you've ever built anything, you don't know the cost till you get the bid. That's the cost, and even then you kind of wonder about overruns, okay? But they're 32 million for the 2, 11 million. So it's a considerably less expensive solution. You couldn't use the USDA 40-year loan because that's specific for the 2 stations, because the way that works is when the USDA approved the loan, they had all the details and all the drawings, and that's what they approved. So just like if you go over to the Baraboo National Bank and you want to build a $300,000 house, and the lender says, you bet, you go for it, and you come back with a $400,000 house, the lender's gonna say, no, that wasn't the deal we had. I was gonna loan you money on a $300,000. So you can't change your terms too much. So what's finally happened is on Monday night, also 4 of the 5 partners have said, if you do the downtown station, we'll pay for it. So we're 80% of the way there. See my Baraboo High School math. There's 5 partners, 4 said yes, 1 said no. The one that's no is the city of Baraboo. He says we're 80% of the way there. The council has said no station unless everybody's on board. Now again, with the partners on board, keep in mind logistically that doesn't really happen until those townships vote and say we're on board. But they have said that if you do this, we will go back to our constituents and we will try to bring that vote. So Tuesday night next week, the 1-station solution is presenting to the council. That's everything I know on the fire station. Now with that long-winded, what do you think we should do?
1 station.
And then the question, of course, is why? What drive? I'm not challenging you on here, but what drives that up view for you? Is it the price? Is it the location? Is it the
price?
The price.
I don't want $600 or more in additional back.
Okay.
Pay for the 2.
Okay. Any other? Yep.
I'd say 2, just
Okay.
essentially, I don't think this is, required 2 plus that huge problem or whatever. But I have another question. So you said 4 of the 5 are on board now, except for the city of Baraboo? What
Right.
does the city of Baraboo want, the 2?
They adamantly want the 2 stations.
Why? Yeah, why?
I'm sorry?
Why?
I think, my opinion is, that some of the people really believe the 1 station will be inadequate. Now, this is me stepping outside of the facts. I've said, hey, don't tell me why it won't work without telling me how we could make it work. It really, so for an example was, one of the kickbacks I got, that's a bad word for a politician to say, one of the feedback I got was that you can't get the ladder truck out without making a wide truck. The ladder truck is 40 feet and has a 9-foot overhang on the front of it. Out of everybody that's involved in this process, I'm the only one who's driven the ladder truck because I was a firefighter for 15 years. However, if you widen the door by 4 feet, you can get it out because it's long enough, the back end swings. So you gotta have more space than a foot on each side. So if I've got 2 feet on each side, it doesn't, I can swing and get it out. So you could widen, right now the door's not widened, but why couldn't you widen the door? The second reason is, and I can do this because my wife's here, Susan's here. You ever get in a fight with your spouse, and halfway through the fight, you realize they're right and you're wrong, but you don't change your position?
Susan, we're making note of this.
So I kind of wonder, sometimes in the city, they've dug in so hard, and I say this out of respect and out of appreciation. If the fire chief wasn't nuts about fire service, I think I need a new fire chief. Right? But somebody needs to put that in check from a budget standpoint. And yes, yes.
Can I
you
offer just a couple other observations?
Yes, you can.
Is, the city voted on it way back before there was this second alternative,
That's right.
right? And they haven't, actually haven't an opportunity to vote on the smaller station. They haven't seen it, they haven't,
The
right?
city hasn't allowed that to happen.
Correct.
And then, this is a full-time job for me, the way I treat it. I studied here at the library. I read in the League of Municipalities that any member of a municipal group can bring forward any item on the agenda and ask that it be placed and discussed, and the chair cannot refuse it. So, you're looking at the pain in the neck that said, I think we need to talk about this.
Well, and they've dug in their heels on the loan that they already have approved, and they don't wanna give that up. So
Yeah.
that's the other,
Because some people worked really hard to get that loan.
right.
Yes,
I was gonna say, when you say the city of Baraboo, I'm a city of Baraboo employee, and myself and a lot of other people want one station. Are you referring to like 2 or 3 individuals, or can you
Boy.
say where the pushback's
That's a
coming
great
from?
comment. I'm transparent. Tom Painting and Pat Cannon and John Young really want the 2 stations.
Okay.
The fire chief has since retired. I don't wanna speak for Kevin. He was my fire chief, and he tolerated me being a firefighter for 15 years, so I can say nothing but positive things about Kevin. He's a good guy. Believe it or not, he took a white collar employee and made him a firefighter. There's a scary thought. So, but he's retired, so I don't know I honestly, I called him the other day, but I left a message saying, hey, I know you're retired, but I'd love to know your view. And I haven't had a chance to talk to him. But it's those 3, and I say it out of respect for those 3. Tom has been involved in this since the get-go. Pat Cannon heads the CDA. He's the one that fought for that loan. I get it, I do understand. I may disagree with you, but that doesn't mean I can't respect you for your opinion.
Correct.
Okay, I just want to be, so not in any way, and Tom, I don't know a smarter city engineer. He definitely knows where all the bodies are buried in the city of Baraboo. So they are passionate about it. I'm just out talking, and in fairness too, you're a city employee, so correct me if I'm wrong. But sometimes it might be difficult to understand what the rest of the world really thinks. You're in the city, you're doing your job the best you can. Every day sometimes is a tough day, and sometimes it's hard to sit there and say, hey, what does the guy out in District 9 think? Not that you should, but where I'm out in District 9.
Right.
You know, so.
And when we say the city of Baraboo, it's huge. There are so many moving parts, and sometimes this happens that affects this over here, and no, I don't know if anyone really fully understands the big picture.
I think that's
But
fair.
those 3 have a pretty good grasp on
They
it.
do, they're very smart, we're lucky to have them. I'll also throw out the mayor, who, I don't honestly know where Mayor Rob stands on it. He does, but he allows the conversation. I'd say that in a positive way.
Did I hear you right, they were talking about a meeting space for 400? Are you being?
No, there's, what Kevin really wanted, and it made sense, he wanted a regional training center here.
Part of that.
And
Okay,
in
but
that
it
is a
exists in
ballroom
MATC.
twice this size.
Yeah, but it exists at MATC, right?
MATC already has it down in
Okay,
Madison.
So you're fighting against your neighbors.
You
For a
are.
proven thing that already exists in a good program, close enough.
And they don't
That's
want to come
correct.
here either, so.
Well, so we all travel Madison, we all travel
Well,
Chicago.
actually, just to put clarity on it, just because I can get to some facts there, because you're looking at an old retired firefighter. One of the great things, and this is kudos to MATC and to the Madison Fire Department, their chiefs come up here and train us. I've learned a ton of stuff from, and not always their chiefs, but their captains do. We do go down there, and and we now have a burn tower here, a training facility here that Kevin actually built on pennies on the dollar. So, and it was, maybe it was just me, but it was always kind of fun to go down to Madison and do a day's training, because we never came home at 5 o'clock. And it was kind of a bonding thing too,
So there's other resources locally enough to travel to that already exist?
Absolutely, and Madison, it's the Truax Field campus.
Yeah.
And the other neat thing when you train down there is you're training with full timers.
Okay, and there was two other things. One was if with the loan being lower, is it easier to get private funding for that versus governmental funding? Or would they pursue a governmental funding again, or is it probably stuck in the backlog at that time?
This is a fear we have. If you go for the 40-year loan, but for the 11 million, let's say it's 15 million, let's say it's 40. Will it take 2 years to get approved?
Yeah.
We don't know.
We don't know.
But we could borrow 15 million on our balance sheet for 20 years. A city can't borrow for longer than 20 years, that's a law. That's right. So we could borrow on our balance sheet for 20 years. And the interest rate today would be 4%. Who knows what the interest rate would be when you get to do it? They're kind of bumping around like we noticed, but just to put it in perspective. That would make, instead of a $1.7 million debt service payment, it would be a $650,000. $50,000 sounds like a bargain. But that's what the debt service payment would be. And what I'm doing is saying, without any research,
Right.
2 stations are more expensive to run than one.
Yeah, overall. It's just, yeah.
How much? Don't know.
Right.
And there are issues, I get why the 2. If you're, the west side is out by the Dodge garage, that's called the Burgess property, and the east side's off of County T. Well, if you live over on the east side or you live in Fairfield, and remember, it's not just the fire truck, it's the ambulance. I mean, and you're having a heart attack, that doesn't.
Yeah, no, I'm not talking one or the other, it's 2 versus the central.
We had to make the central one work. And one of the mandates that the team, the city, that would be Pat and Tom and I think the fire chief, was that it has indoor parking for the firefighters. And this station would not offer it. The firefighters would have to park outside. But we.
Why is that a problem?
I don't see it as a problem. The reason is that most of now I'm gonna cross the line, this is my pitch. I have not made, if we can make the downtown station work, I prefer it. I certainly, even if it's a bargain at 15 million, yeah, 15 million, that's nothing, right? We'll pass the hat. It's a colossal waste if it doesn't work in 5 years from now, we gotta build another one.
Right.
But the one thing the downtown station affords us is the ability to stay volunteer. We will have some full-timers, but we can still run some volunteer, and that's huge when it comes to operating costs. Volunteer gets very difficult with 2 stations. You gotta be so many minutes within the station. There's those kind of issues, so it's obviously from a response time, I don't need to hire a good engineering firm to say what has got the best overall response time, downtown. Your greatest fire load is downtown. What about Teal and all, these new buildings, what you're gonna do is when it catches on fire, I'm gonna pull up with an engine, I'm gonna hit the hydrant, and I'm gonna plug into the sprinkler system and watch it put itself out.
Right.
Now that's,
So it's-
don't quote me on that, but you know,
Yeah.
Teal Plastics is not gonna burn to the ground. We get a fire at the old Ranking building, we're fighting to save the block.
Right.
Right.
And so, plus your homes on this side of town, I live on this side of town, are less fire safe than the homes that are, the new building we're building out by Menards, that's gonna be an apartment building, state of the art. I'm not worried about that burning down.
Is the multi-station, solution required full complement of equipment? Or could it be a smaller complement to address like the ambulance and small needs without having to rent a ladder, full firefighting equipment?
The one station solution requires less equipment. And the reason is you have an engine here just for this station. The one station solution also gets a little problematic. Greenfield's not easy to get to, no matter which station you come from. And so, great question, but one station probably requires today, now who knows what the NFPA will mandate we have to have. In my short time as a firefighter in 15 years, we increased equipment by about 30%. None of it was optional. Because during the time I was a firefighter, we came across this magnificent thing called the Jaws of Life. And the first version of the Jaws of Life fit comfortably in this room. Now they're portable, and you can carry 2 of them. But at the time, we had a rig just for that with its own hydraulic system to feed it. That's an example. So as these things come about, you know, you're mandated that you have to have the, and that's a good thing. So, but right now, one station requires less equipment.
No, what I understand that, what I mean is if we did a two-station solution, you have to fully complement.
You wouldn't be able to, you would not be able to, we're not gonna buy two $1.5 million ladder trucks.
That's my point,
Right.
you need, I mean, I assume it's a two-station solution, ditch is the one downtown, that's going to sell it.
Right.
We have to do that. Instead of having multiple full complement stations, have a single station solution, that's full complement, and satellite stations that have less equipment, but they serve the need for time for ambulance service and whatnot, which would reduce the personnel requirements and reduce the cost of those stations, but still have at least the initial part of the building, so that in the future, if we did have to add to it, adding to it is less painful from a real estate and from a equipment standpoint.
I think what you just said is spot on. If we build one station downtown, it's bad enough. You know, we don't know exactly where would we add the next station. We don't know what equipment would be required for it. But if I look at the proposed of what's gonna happen in West Baraboo, I'd be inclined to say it's probably gonna be in West Baraboo. But if I look at healthcare and how, so you're absolutely right. If you build downtown, you build with a vision that you're probably gonna need more equipment and more, another station down the road. Yeah, you probably are. And that's one of the arguments, in fairness to Tom and Pat and John. I wanna try to be fair to both parties here, to really respect all these people, is that, well, let's do the two now, it's cheaper. It is, but one city, I can't help but think back to the jail. We had to have this jail, we did it, and it scares me. Now, on the other side of the coin, that was one of my mistakes. The other big mistake I made, but thanks to you, I got voted down and didn't pass. I was adamantly opposed to the Public Works building being the way it is. When I was on the council before, I thought, let's build a steel building. It is a steel building, but let's really tone it down. A pole barn is gonna work just fine, and Phil Wiedekind would just go at me. And now I go down to the Public Works building, and I look around, and Phil was right, and I was wrong. When you build these things, you do have to build sensible. Cities build for longer term than a business would. So there's a middle ground. So I think if you do a downtown station, you're not building a pole barn. You gotta build something that has got sustainable, it's gonna last, it's got quality in it. Plus, I have to respect my neighbors downtown. I don't know necessarily if they would want a pole barn if you're trying to, you know, spiff up your retail store and you want it to look nice, so you've gotta be. That's kind of the fire station. If you're looking for a meeting or watching whatever's internet Tuesday night, they're gonna talk about it. It's just a meeting to have a discussion, committee of the whole about it. Any other question? Yep.
I must have missed it. What was the justification for indoor parking for whatever station?
The justification is that, when we start, this is an advantage, I was on the ambulance commission when it started. When I was on the fire, we were actually all volunteer, including the ambulance guys, so we would drive for them. Then we decided that we actually had to go to first aid school. Then we had to go to EMT school, and then we started with paramedics. They can do drugs, we gotta get some paramedics. But we could only get and afford 2 paramedics, so we had what's called chase cars. And the idea of a chase car was that you're having a heart attack, and so we're sending 2 guys, I don't use the word medic gender, we're sending 2 people over to you with an ambulance, and the paramedic would get in a chase car and run to you. That way over here, you're having a stroke, 10 minutes later, okay, we send another ambulance to you, volunteers stay here, chase car goes over and gets you. We have 5 chase cars, but everybody's paramedic today, and we don't need them, because 3 people ride on the rig.
So there's no need for that.
You can put 3 on a rig, if you were 100%, that, we're close to 100% paramedic. Yes, ma'am.
I wanna add something on there. For those that don't know, I work at the police department. I'm not a cop, I work in the office. So you know everything. I do not know everything, but I do know when you're talking about chase cars and response time, especially medical situations like you're talking about. Usually the first one on scene is a law enforcement officer.
That's true.
Because they're already out on patrol, so they can get there quicker, they all have first aid, they all carry defibrillators, they all have medical bags, they can apply a tourniquet or whatever needs to be done. There was a fire over here on Lynn Street, month and a half ago. The police department was there first, it was close. We were there first, we were clearing the house, making sure no one was inside. And I'm not poo-pooing the fire department, I'm not poo-pooing the EMS, but 9 times out of 10, it's either a county deputy or a city officer who's there first.
So covered parking is more of a
Chase
whip,
cars we go.
or chase is.
And
more
then we
of a-
might as well put firefighters' cars there as well.
Yeah.
And so the proposal, and this is taking too long, but I can take City Hall, here's the fire station, here's the alley, here. Gives you, there's 3 stories here, but probably try to acquire those. Gives you space right now for the full-time people to park. Tear these 2 down and use that for surface training and work area. Whenever you take the ladder truck out and use it, you have to bring it back, you have to extend the ladder and drain the 5-inch main on it. Otherwise, it's a problem. You need a place to park it and extend the ladder. You don't just do that on the street. So you need open land to do it. That's an example. When you come back from a fire, you took everything off the trucks. Well, you gotta load it all back on. You gotta load all that hose. Well, you can't do that with every truck parked in the station. So you pull a truck into the station, 10 guys load the hose, behind the truck, they're loading the hose, and if you ever saw that, there's a guy way back there, and they're unwinding the hose, and that's how you're putting it in the hose bed. So you need a space to put the trucks that aren't getting serviced when you come back. So you need an outdoor space. That could be a parking lot, but when there's a fire, there's gonna be a place that they can work. So that's the downtown solution.
Isn't there private property across Fifth Street there?
No, this is private property here. This
Oh,
is
the
the
parking lot.
This is
Oh,
the
uh-huh.
You couldn't figure out my drawing?
I thought it was the bed and breakfast and we were just gonna make them leave, so.
No,
Okay.
Great, yeah. I can see Facebook tonight. Okay, fire station, and let's do this, let's keep moving. I've got a question, I'm glad you answered, I don't wanna. Ringling Hospital, well, walk by it every day, and I just thought this thing's never gonna fix itself. I have no idea how to restore and rehab a hospital and develop it, never done it in my life. Just started talking about it. Where we are today, last week, Tuesday, we got everybody in the room that had to be in the room, and I had nothing to do with it, to be honest. Just asked a few people, and the honest thing didn't happen. Huge shout out to Jessica, the county treasurer, to Lisa, who I never even met before, the county administrator, Tom Pinion, who I just badmouthed, he made this happen, Pat Cannon, John Young, all people I just badmouthed, all made this happen. The local head for WIDA, the local head for federal funding, and one guy that knew an awful lot about money, all on the phone for 1 hour. And what was accomplished? Well, we identified that nobody owns it, but the county would take it. Should the county take it, Lisa felt confident that the county board would approve. It's got a big debt against it. It's been happening. Is we mow it in the city, we shovel the snow, and then we bill the county, and they don't pay for it. And imagine that. So, you do that for 20 years, and all of a sudden you got a debt. And then we've been charging, not lately, but for a while, we were charging property tax. So the county felt they could make all that go away. They then could redeed it over to the city, but the city actually has to buy it in an open auction. Let me tell you something, I don't think there's gonna be a lot of bidders. I'm pretty sure $1 owns it. And the city can own it, and they can apply to the DNR. There's $1 million in grants. It's right now empty, but it gets refunded July 1st. And it's a 50-50 type relationship. I'm making this much simpler than it was. There's 6 different grants, and they all come with 400-page handbooks. But we could get a couple $100,000 probably for cleanup. There was a phase 1 done in 2016, which we were able to find on the call. We also, because we have the actual officials on the call, they confirm that a phase 1 is good unless there's a change of use. Praise God, it was empty in 2016, it's still empty. So that phase 1 works, that saves us a lot of money. We found the asbestos studies, so we know what the asbestos is. We found the tank contamination study. The only thing we don't know about is mercury. There's never been a test for mercury, and it probably has a mercury contaminant, because it had x-rays, and likelihood is they drain the X-ray draining from that room into some type of city sewer system. I don't know that for sure, we won't know till we start to dig. Estimates about $500,000 to pick it up. The big thing we confirmed is a municipality can own it and have no liability. So in other words, if you bought it, like Steve, you buy it, and there's contamination, you sell it, you're still on the hook to clean it up. Even though you sold it over here 10 years ago. Cities, municipalities can do that, no liability. That means that the city and the county can start to work together. We have I had 5. You gotta get no's, I'm learning in this business, because yeses are few. I started with 5 developers, I'm down to 2 that are still holding tough, and they're both still in the game, and they both have money. The importance of that statement is in the reverse order. They both have money, and they're still in the game. So to get this process through the county is probably a 6 to 8 month process. So this is, again, we do slow incredibly well, but I went home to Susan on Tuesday, and I've been in government on and off for 20 years, 15 years. Tuesday was the best day I've ever had. Because that was just one of 5 things that happened on Tuesday. Now, it's kind of like you work, and then in 1 hour, everything comes together. But so that's the Ringling Hospital, we'll keep you posted. I'd love to know, so one option is 20 senior apartments and a park in front. Incidentally, there is money in a park impact fee that we've been putting in there. Believe it or not, District 9 has no park. So we've never used it. Nothing's ever been drawn out of it. And I've had several conversations with the president of SSM and the foundation director, I don't know what Julia's title is, the development officer, let's say. And they are very interested in partnering with us and making that a sister's SSM recognized park in the front. Thoughts? Oh, the other is 9 townhomes. Tear the whole thing down, put 9 townhomes on 11th Street, facing 11th Street, 2 stories, all masonry. Back end would be 3 stories, tandem parking underneath, and then of course, where the actual house, Ringling's house was, that would be where the park is.
Senior living, and then what kind of a park, like a child's?
No,
playground park
it's
or a garden?
it's probably not big enough. Almost more like the healing garden.
Just some green quiet.
Yeah,
space.
it'd be a place you
Okay.
can read a book. I don't, we certainly have, great question, needs to be explored, but just looking at it, it's not a very big piece of land.
And I'm just thinking, if you have senior living, are you really gonna want a very active child?
Correct.
That was my
Yeah.
question, would it be more fitting with a senior to have a park?
It-
Who manages the park, then, would that be the
Be City of Baraboo, who maintains and runs it, be the City of Baraboo.
Which is the better value for homeowners in the area when they go to sell, is having townhomes or senior living?
What do you think? I don't know. Don't know.
What is the senior living?
It's keeping the present building. Second and third floor is 20 apartments. First floor would be, we don't know how many, they're still playing with it, would be probably 15 assisted living units.
And would there be parking for, say, 25, 30 cars?
Great question. On the second option with the 20, I need that. And in order to do that, I would lose 1 row of angled parking from the park. The park would be bigger with the townhomes. It would go right up to where the alley is. But if you do the apartments, you would have to have additional parking for about 9 cars. I can get the rest on the parcel, but I need about 9 more spaces, and you could get that if you shrunk the park just the length of a car. Now, we haven't had anybody that knows anything engineering-wise do that drawing. We just did it on a piece of paper and said, yeah, I think we can do that here.
Well, I mean, I guess the park is, wants to grow the park. Or, I mean, it's park of reasonable size.
Maybe it's not
But I think,
Street parking?
There's limited street
There
parking.
is limited.
Yeah.
That's my concern. Everyone calls me and yells at me about parking, so.
The
parking
park
at
on
Oak.
Oak would be bad, you don't really want
You know, they
that.
did when it was a hospital. There was angle parking on Oak. Imagine that with a 1945 car, an 1850s
Wow.
car.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm sorry, if you look at I've had a ball, there's hundreds of pictures, and I've just been studying those in the plans I found.
I mean, the park space is really, I live right here across the street, so I look at that place every okay. Became a smaller park, that's fine. I kinda like the idea of the senior assisted living. Seniors need a place. I'm not exactly sure how that works, and I'd like to know that it's not going to be financial impact on the house. First, I'm opposed to any kind of corporate welfare, whether that corporate welfare be, out of my pocket or the city's pocket. I'm opposed to that. As long as it's not outside the use of what we expect of our neighborhood. Townhomes, yeah, that's fine, I mean, we're a neighborhood, right, we're homes.
They would both
if
need
it's-
to make a proposal, right? I'm sorry to interrupt. They would both need to make a proposal
They
when it
both-
comes to
Yeah.
sale.
As I understand, at this stage in the game, I'm the shameless politician, so I'm chasing them, they're not chasing me. It's kinda like dating in high school, but they both said they'll go out with me. So, we're not any further than that, and I started asking 5, and I'm down to 2. So, but I hear what as far as the structure of it, you know, a lot of it depends on how much can we get in government money to clean it up.
Right.
And what is the actual cleanup cost? We're ballparking, there was, one of the developers hired North Shore, or something, consulting firm, and they came back with $450,000 to clean it up.
But, now, I suppose, a lot of the asbestos and whatnot isn't really airborne friable stuff, it's a problem. Like linoleum tiles, right, well, if you're chipping them up and having them burn, I guess that's a problem. If you leave them alone, not really a big problem, or your duct work, then the reality is it's what the old,
Which one will bring in more tax revenue?
I don't know. I don't know, both of them. Neither's nonprofit, so both are taxable. I don't know that. You know, I could guess on the townhomes and say they're probably $400,000 a piece. You're a real estate
Maybe
professional.
more, probably more.
Well, then let's make it 500, because then I can do the math. And then there's 9 of them, so there you go. That's your net equalized value of day 1.
It's a lot more than we've been getting the last
Yes,
Yeah.
for sure. How exciting that something is like really,
And we're not there yet,
I know, but there's
but,
talk.
and the needle really got moved last week. I've never been involved, I've not been involved in that many projects, but I've never been involved in a project where everybody in the room says, we have to do this. And government, that doesn't happen very, Steve, how often are you at a meeting where we gotta do this?
Congratulations.
Yeah.
No,
We'll keep listening.
this was Jessica, and Lisa from the county, who got on the horn with Madison and said, we need you on the phone at this time, and they did, so. Fordham Place, nobody knows what that is. Last Tuesday night, this Community Development Authority voted to name the new 68-unit affordable housing unit behind Old Corson Square, Fordham Place. So what's going on is Corson Square is right behind the old Viking, the C-store there on the east side, the old Darrow store, the old home, right by Jose's, that's Corson Square. Corson Square is 40 years old, nothing's ever been really redone in it, it's getting kind of old and tired. They've done a really good job maintaining it, but it needs big time renovation. So, this is the same guy I chewed out in the meeting Tuesday night, made him mad at me, but I gotta give him credit, Pat Cannon. He put together a plan that will redecorate, renovate Corson Square. And it will build 68 more affordable housing units. Now, low-income housing and affordable housing are 2 different things. Low-income housing is the cheapest. Affordable housing is still not as expensive as market rate housing, but it's not like Donahue Terrace, which is, you can live there for $400 or $500 a month. It's not like that. So we're building 68 brand new units, which we call Fordham Place. You hear it here first. This whole project, all done, is a cost of $19 million. And you as taxpayers of the city of Baraboo are paying $200,000. The whole project. way that's being done is not through smoke and mirrors. It's being done because we're putting the property back on the tax roll. And it's creating millions of dollars in affordable tax credits. Banks have to use so much of their resources for affordable housing. A real easy way to do it is to simply buy tax credits from us and then cash those in. And so we're able to sell, and when they do it, let's say we're selling this bank $10 million of tax credits, we would sell that to them for $9 million. So they've got a spread there, and that's just a real simple example. And then there's some government grants involved in it, and this is the part that everybody doesn't understand, but you take a second, we put it on the tax roll, we extended the TID district to include it. This building doesn't exist right now, so it's not like you're losing property tax on it, because you're not making it right now, and it was taxed. Corson Square up till now has been tax-free, it's not been on the tax roll. So that TID now we can use the increased in value, $19 million. The taxes from that go to pay off what's left due on the project, which in total is about $300,000. So $300,000 comes out of the TID, $200 is coming out of your pocket, and that's creating a $19 million housing expansion, which increases affordable housing in Baraboo like 33%. One project. And it's even cooler than that because you go there, and there's big yellow trucks pushing dirt, and we're getting started on the project. So they're already renovating. So if you know someone that lives at Corson Square, they're probably mad because they're all getting moved around because we got to move you out of your apartment when we go into gut and redo your apartment. So if you see somebody from Corson Square, thank them because their flexibility is making this happen. You know, it's hard to move out of your apartment for a month, but you go to this apartment and stage there while we move your apartment. So that's Board in place. Boo you. There is a listening session. Boo you. There is a listening session.
Tuesday night.
Pardon me? 17th and 18th, right?
Yeah.
And one is in Reedsburg. First one is Baraboo. It's up at the campus in the off building. I'm sure there'll be signage though when you get up there. And what's going on there is Bouyou's owned 50% by the city and 50% by the county. For now, the city has said, okay, county, you want to be the lead. We've not said yay or nay on any of this yet. But if you want to go ahead, and that's fine. The state has come up with $2 million for every community that has a Bouyou, a campus that's being closed, of money available. So they've tapped into $150,000 of that to hire a consultant, and that's who's doing the listening session with the idea of what should we do with Bouyou. They may or may not know, Bouyou, the Platteville, University of Wisconsin-Platteville, is moving out, and this is their last semester. And so most parts of it, I'm understanding, are pretty well shut down right now. From the city standpoint, when we redid the science building, we borrowed $2 million, which we still owe. So we have a $2 million debt on Bouyou, just to put things in perspective. From a maintenance standpoint, the city pays $100,000 a year for maintenance, has for some time. The rest was covered. So that's the money side of it. What should we do with Bouyou?
Are there restrictions to what we can and can't do? So it could be anything?
Yeah.
Oh.
For the sake of this conversation, yes. I would prefer not a nuclear waste center, but.
Well, yeah,
But, my point is, it's,
Right,
yes.
within reason, right,
We
okay.
could sell it all, put it on I'm not saying we do anything.
Yeah,
We could sell it all, we could say, and make condos out of it. We could, Edgewood has expressed an interest, they still are interested. I talked to the dean of Edgewood a week ago. They would like to do something greater than just nursing. Nobody really has made a definition of this, accounting, business, whatever. But what they like is the idea of a foothold in a community like Sauk County and Baraboo. To do that would require a pretty good philanthropic effort. The nursing school, which has been what's been bantered about a little bit, would take about $1 million to rehab the library. My understanding is, and Steve, you can correct me on this if you want, the buildings are wonderful, but they're in tough shape. And to just move in and do a school there, or to do anything there, is gonna take some money. They're wonderful buildings, but whatever you do is gonna cost money. So, that said, and right now, if you wanna rent one of the buildings, it's available. The city has set up a system through the parks, our parks, where you can go to the parks website, and let's say you want to rent a big room for something, they'll rent, there's pricing there, and the city of Baraboo the parks department's managing just the rental of it on the intern. And that. I know I have an issue because I got a call, I guess the lighting now is on timers and it goes out like now. And the choir was working up there and it came out and it was all. Yes.
You say the buildings are in tough shape, does that include the auditorium and the gymnasium? Are they in tough
The
shape?
gymnasium I don't know about, the auditorium, only because it's not come up.
Okay.
But I can speak to the auditorium because Theater Guild wanted to use it, but they too would have to put quite a bit in to make it work.
Mhm.
But I don't know about the gym, it's never come up, I mean, so that's the best I can
It
answer.
looks good, my son played basketball,
There we go.
It's like 25 years old.
It's brand new.
Yeah.
Pretty sure Walmart is a fire station, so forget that thought. So I had encouraged you to go and listen to the consultant. Nothing's really gonna happen until the spring when that report comes out. I'll be honest, I'm not a big fan of consultants, I don't care if I never hire another one. But that's fine, that's the county's dime, they're spending the time on it, great, I'll take, but once that report comes out, but I think that it's a chance for your voice to be heard, and then also anything you've got, if you have a passion for it or an idea, please communicate with your elected official, both your county elected official and your city elected official, because we're the ones at the end of the day that are gonna have to make the decision on what's gonna happen.
Are there any ideas?
You know what, there are, and
I mean, the nursing school, the Edgewood school, right?
Edgewood School is one. I was approached from some people in the Dells about a hospitality school. That meeting's gonna happen at the end of February. We're getting together to talk about that. They would be interested in formulating that in a way. Another conversation I had on a meeting is mixing it up. It doesn't all have to be one purpose. I even had a meeting, I met with Mike Art from West Baraboo, but we did an interesting collaboration on the splash pad. West Baraboo paid $50,000. If I talk about the splash pad, you know what I'm talking about? It's over on the $50,000 in cash for projects at our side of the line, and the rest of it was donated. So Mike has said, hey, we gotta replace the outdoor pool. This is not a political statement. The pumps are shot, the pool itself is shot. If we could get through this next summer, it'll be great. But it is very likely it'll get shut down. And the next break is gonna be 6 figures plus. So we're there. So what do? Well, he said, could we do the same type of thing, only this time it's on your side of the line, for the public pool, and do an outdoor public pool. There's certainly enough land to do it. So, just a thought. Steve's running away because you're afraid I'm gonna
I
ask
got a board meeting at 5. Okay?
And thanks for coming. So I think my opinion is, it's not gonna be one thing. But I also personally am not ready to give up education. I just don't know what that'll look like. I think if we do the same thing that was there, that was kind of silly. It didn't work. There's a lot of reasons it didn't work, but some of those are really understandable. And so we said, what could we do education-wise here that's out there, that's not being done? Could we build a whole bunch of advanced placement classes up there? So if you come out of Baraboo High School, you don't have to go to college the first year, you're already covered. You got the credits. What could be done that innovative communities are doing?
So that meeting that's coming up would be a good one to.
Looking for ideas. And maybe if you feel it should be condos, bring it up then too. I've gotten a lot of calls from people that it should be private and it should make money. Yep.
Yeah.
Has MATC expressed any interest in expanding?
No, but that doesn't mean they don't have it. I have not heard it. But that doesn't mean they don't have it, so.
It seems like an area of education that usually sort of back in trades.
Yep.
Same thing.
Your keyboard and video jobs are going away.
But there's additional land all around it.
There is, and it's gorgeous land. It's good, it's good ground.
I just have a quick question. One of my kids asked this, when I told him that that building was no longer, it wasn't gonna be used. Well, we all took AP classes there. Where are those, what's gonna happen to those high school kids? They can't take AP classes.
Well, that's a great question for Steve, who's having a listening session next week at the coffee shop. Go online, you'll find it. I think it's Tuesday morning, Wednesday morning, somebody correct me. But what's happened is we've seen a big decline in AP classes. Not from student demand, but from district and administration. And should we be bringing that back? It's become, what happened is UW became more and more restrictive on what you could or couldn't do. Almost like they didn't want that. So,
Cuts into the revenue.
so an example was, we had a third and a fourth year Spanish, which were both AP. But then they canceled the third year, UW did. You can't get the fourth year without the third year. So it basically made the fourth year not work. It's almost like you didn't want us to have it.
Because then you can test out when you get to college.
Mhm.
So it's a chance, and it'll be slow, and it'll be yucky, it'll be ugly, but we could create something really good there.
The face of college is changing too, I think, in our world. So anyway, that'd be a good point.
Well, Baraboo's demographics are getting older, so is this a place for older people to get together for classes that are most interesting to us? You notice your interests change. When you went to high school, maybe you didn't care at all about American literature, and now you can't get enough of it. So is this a place that we can, I think there's still a place for education. Is it at BOU? I don't know. And I am one of these people, I'm not getting rid of the name BOU. I'm not buying, I still call the Easenberg building, the Easenberg's building, and Penny's is still downtown, so it's BOU. Civic Center, where we are on the Civic Center, and then what do you think we should do, is the city has agreed to put out RFPs, a request for RFPs, for developers to come forward and tell us what to do with the Civic Center. And that right now is at the process where we should see that actual request for RFP Tuesday night, if not this Tuesday, 2 weeks from Tuesday, and that will go out. And looking to the development community to come back to us and tell us what to do with that building. What are your thoughts?
Is that building just not utilized well?
The building is, actually it's about 75, 80% occupied. It costs us about, I'm gonna round the numbers, about $300,000 to have the building. It is, out of that, that's a loss of about 200 and some thousand. And a couple of changes are happening to it. I think this still needs to be signed off on, but it's pretty close. Park and Recs will consolidate in City Hall. When we built City Hall, we built offices for Park and Recs there. And by Park and Recs moving to City Hall, that saves us about $100,000 on the city budget. Plus it opens up really some of the best space in the building, the first floor, you know, for rental. Is it being used well? It's being used. I really commend the people that are using it. Think it through for a minute though. We have a senior center on the second floor of a semi-handicap accessible building. Yeah. And we have a Boys and Girls Club, another great organization, but very limited outdoor space. And not located convenient to the center of where our boys and girls are for after school. But it's working great because it's being utilized well because people are using Ambition and now the building is screwy in that you think of the building, picture the building, you're looking down at it from a drone. You gotta cut the rectangle in half because this half over here is a gym and an auditorium. So it's only got this half over here that's got classrooms. So it's got a strange construction as being an old school. so if somebody, you know, so does a developer gut it and make it senior housing? We're not just, I don't think the council has the ambition to just cut the senior center and the boys and girls center, high and dry cold. I don't see the council, that's, no. So we have to come up with solutions that work for them, and they could be come up with. One of the things on the Ringling Hospital, that the developer that's doing the seniors apartments, I'm trying to talk to them, would they consider the senior center? We have a bit of a parking problem with that, but would they consider that? So there's other solutions. So that's the, yes.
Exercise class.
And a church, and a Sunday church, yeah. And we vote there.
Maybe.
So I'm getting rid of a 3,200 square foot ballroom, but maybe I'll need it so we can go vote at the fire station. So what do you do with it? How many people here, I'm gonna ask this in a provocative way, wanna see it tore down? That's what I thought. How many people we don't wanna tear it down?
No, I mean, it has.
There's a slice of Baraboo there.
It is the
Purpose
healing
it
building.
somehow.
Yeah, but, you know, and is it well maintained, is it
It is.
structurally good?
It
It's not like
is.
it's falling apart, we got
No.
to put money in it. so.
Considering the age of the building, my hat's off to Park and Recs, who's basically been the maintenance team. It is well maintained. It is a pain in the neck to maintain, but it's been well maintained. I think, yeah.
I have a question, when you say it's costing $300,000 a year to keep it, what are those costs, like heating it and putting water to it, or?
Yes, but 200 and some of it is 2.5 full-time employees.
Oh, the employees, like the Boys and Girls Club and.
No, city employees.
2.5
For
janitors.
People to clean.
2.5 maintenance.
To clean it. People to clean it.
Just people to sit there. You have one guy that just sits there. No, there's not a
So those two positions go away once you move everybody back to?
They don't go away, they're still there cleaning it and sitting there. The people that are working in the Park and Rec's office are not just sitting there.
Yeah, no.
That's Wendy and that's Ryan and that's, you know, those people, and it made sense to put them there to monitor the building.
Right, yeah.
Now, another option, and this is just, I've asked, and this is me, this is not the city council. I've reached out to a couple of real estate management firms just for a bid, what would it cost them to run the building? If we just said, hey, here's the keys, you make sure the lights are on, you make sure the door's unlocked at 6 o'clock in the morning for the gym, and lock it up at 10, and make sure that the halls are cleaned and swept, and the building runs as it is. I might find it costs more than $300,000, but at least I'll find out. Because whoever runs it is also gonna cut a profit for themselves, and I would expect it. So that's kind of the Civic Center. Any other questions or thoughts on that? Underlying here, don't go back and say, well, he's right, that we're gonna close the senior center. I've had that happen once before. We're not gonna do that. We're not gonna kick the boys and girls out. We're just looking for solutions. Yep.
Wouldn't moving the senior center and the Boys and Girls Club to some part of Boo U make sense? It's got parking, it's better located, blah, blah, blah.
It's an option.
Empty the building, and I'm sorry, drop it in the ground.
Oh, you would tear it down?
Yeah, I will.
Okay.
Even the fire station?
You know, we tried. We would have to fit this fire station on that piece of land, we would lose the parking. And I want you to think for a section, there's a 15-foot drop from Second Street to
Oh,
First Street.
right, yeah.
It's not long.
Yeah.
So we actually had MSA do a study for us on that. So yes, you can, you'd have to get rid of the building. And then, so we said, what happens if we keep the building? And you would lose is it Vine Street? No, it's not Vine, it's Oak Street. You'd lose Oak Street. You'd have to close Oak. And one of the things I'm gonna add to the list that's not there, but it's a good transition, Great Sauk Trail. Great Sauk Trail right now is set to come from Sauk City through Badger, south of Baraboo. It takes a turn west. It doesn't come through Baraboo. I really don't like that plan. So the conversation is, do we look into it? Do we rechange it? One of the natural ways, if you look into it, is to bring it into town by Vine Street and Oak Street. but just picture if you would. It comes up fine, a footbridge across the Baraboo River, where the old, on Vine Street, where the old high, what do they call it? The bridge that you.
The lookout.
Yeah, and you come up through downtown there.
Perfect. Make that happen. Next meeting, my notes.
Well, the
Put
mayor
that on
shares
your
my view
1,
on
2,
that, or I
3.
share his view to be respectful to him. We both share that same view. It's, to me, it's absurd to not have it come through Baraboo, but I'm biased. I think it needs to be part of Baraboo, we need to be part of it. So, and
But
it's
wasn't
not
there
done,
a
it's
big-
not etched in concrete outside of Baraboo, but the plan as it stands now has it outside of Baraboo.
Wasn't there a big study with, the landowners and what they would give right of way to, and maybe that had an impact as to.
Could, I don't know
the
about that.
route?
If you happen to think of that, email it to me. I don't know about it,
Cause
but
I
there's a lot of.
know I went to a meeting, it was well over a year ago, when they were showing various maps. And the landowners, in order to get this route, you know, you have to get their approval. And that would dictate kind of where the trail is gonna go.
Well, some things have changed now. You've got the hotel project at Devil's Lake. The city now owns, they don't own, but most of that land is in the city of Baraboo, if you come up to Lake Road.
Yeah.
So there, maybe that changed things, I don't know. Just my view is it's something we really should look at carefully. I think it would be, I think it's consistent with the and that's, but closing Oak Street
Right.
for a fire station, I don't think is the best use of that. 2026 street plan, how many people like it? We doubled your road tax. Yeah. Instead of $40 instead of $20 a car, it's now $40 a car. Here's what happened with it is, so instead of $20 a car, it's $40 a car. That creates, now instead of $250,000 that goes to the general obligation budget, it now creates $500,000, but it goes to a designated fund for roads. Now, that's a great political statement. The $250 was being used for roads, which is coming out of the general budget, okay? They were actually using it for roads. But now it's designated. That $500 is going to have a bond issue, and it will create over a million, so we'll double it. And that million gives us the ability to redo 36 streets next summer. Instead of 1 or 2, we're gonna redo 36 streets. I've got the list, which I can email, send me an email or a note, I'll email it to you. They're not all total redos. There are some resurface jobbers, but Tom Pignon's done a really good job with his staff, and he has a limited staff, of going through everything and rating the streets. Yep.
So the entire $40 is in the new,
100% of your $40 goes to road construction.
and it's in a new bucket.
It's in a designated fund, you can't use it for, what you could have done before, and they were not, but what you could have done before is they could have used it to repair equipment at Public Works, saying that's for road construction. This is going to pay the road construction now, it's changed. I got some pushback on the old way. The city wasn't doing, I'm not bad mouthing the city or the guys that did it, but I can also see when you're sitting at home, you're saying, hey, wait, this was supposed to be used for roads. I look at my handy budget, I can't see where that is. Now you'll see it. It goes right to its brand new designated fund. And we're borrowing, and the whole reason of borrowing is, I personally, and I sit on the Public Works Committee, which is another cool meeting if you wanna go to. And this was actually Tom Pignon's idea, and Tom and I go head to head, we yell at each other, but I think he has a good idea. He wants to make it obvious that we're fixing roads. That we're really going after, because you see that. And so that's why the borrowing, plus there's the economy of scale. We found that, if you noticed, we did Birch Street and we did Madison Street, and we saved a lot of money because the guys that did Birch Street were already on Madison Street, so the demo on Birch Street was practically free, because they didn't have to bring in a crew, they already had a crew. So you save money when you're starting to go through a whole bunch of streets versus, a Madison project, yeah, but you're just there.
And that makes complete sense now, because I'm like going, okay, Madison was bad, but that makes sense, though, the way that was. So you can tell really dumb questions. but maybe when the tax number goes down, let's say back to $20, when they, I mean, they're gonna fix 36th Street.
Here's an even dumber answer. This is it, this is really, think this, so at $20, it's $250,000 a year. At $40, it's $500,000 a year. How about if we take it to zero? How about if we make it go away?
Yeah, well, that's.
It's an irritant to most people. It's like, and I'm an old banker, so you know that, I can say this, it's that $10 for your checking account. No, take it out of the interest, which you practically don't pay me.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
at some banks, we were charging $5 to talk to a teller. No! A wheel tax, it is one of the most favorite things people hate to hate, love to hate. So my opinion is let's fix the streets and then make it go away.
So is it also,
But I'm the only one that thinks that I'm right.
No, it takes one.
is that also true with the new recycle fee?
Well, defense, I voted no on that. No, that's not true, because what the city was able to do, and this would be the city being Julie, who's our CFO, really smart person, and Lori, and Tom uncovered this, that the state allowed you to set up a utility for recycling. By making it a utility for recycling, we could take that, what was $300 and some thousand is what that totaled out to, out of the general obligation budget and collect it under a recycling charge, which you all got. That left a $300,000 gap in what we could spend in the general obligation budget, which we spent on totally other stuff. That's why it was done. It was a way to increase taxes without getting anything above any type of referendum or any approval. That's why it's done. Here's the problem on that. I did not see. I voted no for it, but it was a wimpy no. I might have been, Andrew might have voted no on that one too. Don't hold me to that. It might have been 2 no's. Because I would have been a yes if we'd used every option we had to save $300,000 and didn't have any more. But we hadn't moved rec out of the Civic Center. I had 10 things we could do to cut money. And none of them were getting an audience and getting hurt. We actually hired an employee and saved $200,000. We hired a city attorney. We did that on Tuesday. And we're gonna pay him $100 grand. We're gonna pay him 120 plus benefits. That's good because we paid Boardman $350,000 last year. So there's $200,000 we saved. Sounds stupid, but by having it. And so if we'd have done all of those things and still said we needed the $300,000, I would have voted yes. Here's the part I didn't see, but I won't forget. What's up? For a lot of us in this room, what's another $150? Pain in the neck. But really, right? When you look at your taxes, is it even a percentage? I have an interesting district. You get to part of my district, the average home is $175,000 assessment. If I have a senior that's living on $11,000 of Social Security, less $209 a month for Medicaid, they're bringing in, that's a 20% tax increase. Because remember, it's not progressive. It is fixed. And I never thought that. So, yeah, and I'm not saying this arrogantly, I don't mean to be, but for a lot of my neighbors, it's like, what a pain in the neck, but that's it. But I have people in my district who it was more than a pain in the neck. So we can't do that. And what the city's doing, this is me going outside of the facts. You want a better answer, you've got to ask a better question. We spend a lot of time asking, are the mill rate caps, the levy limit caps what we can pay. And we spend a lot of time finding new ways to raise revenue outside of it from the taxpayer. I think we should be asking, how can we lower the cost to run the city?
I agree.
Because in City Hall, and I get it, I understand it, I appreciate it, they want to do a really good job. You need to understand, their heart is in doing a really good job. But they don't feel they have the money to do it. I understand. However, I think we need to take a step back and look at it from a bigger picture, because at the end of the day, when I raise revenue revenue. It's like me using my Civic Express. I'm still paying the bill. So, what I'd love to see us do is change the conversation. I don't know if we're gonna do that. Street plan, 36 roads under construction. If you can't wait till it comes out, it is on the city website, if you wanna see them. Otherwise, I can send them to you. It's a neat, so it might be a street near you.
Yeah, right.
There was, no, yeah,
Well, I was gonna say, the thing of raising revenue, we have lots of Airbnbs and Verbos, even within our district. And have we contacted Airbnb, Verbo, and said, hey, 53913 is, we have an occupancy tax, 8.5%, and
we doubled it. They doubled it this last year.
are they getting it and reflecting it?
Well, it's I don't know, it's February. I assume we are, but yeah, I'm assuming they're just, to be honest. But but what we did is we doubled those fees. Okay, but I still got yeah, in their case, it's a good point. It's probably the tenant or whatever you call the guest is paying it.
Oh, yeah, they are.
So.
Because the owner of Airbnb, they book through Airbnb or Vrbo, they pay the fee, Airbnb and Vrbo will send a check to Airbnb, directly to Airbnb.
So the challenge you've got is, so, well point, and
But you don't have to hit each and every property. Airbnb is a corporation, if you tell them 53913 is subject to.
we have yes, and we have a
Tax,
set,
they'll just pay the check.
we have we rent a fee,
Mhm.
but it's the same as a tax. So, yes. And the city staff has done an excellent job of going through all of the things that we bill you. I'm picking an example that's getting a lot of negative on Facebook, but I get more negatives on Facebook than positives. So this is how it works if you don't shovel your snow. This is how it works in the city of Baraboo. Let me just show you efficiency, and I'm gonna pick on the police department. It's actually the cities. Okay, so I don't shovel my snow. So you call and complain that I haven't shoveled my snow. So you call the police department. She calls a community service officer to go look and see if I shoveled my snow. Nope, Brett didn't shovel his snow. He comes back and he reaches out to you that didn't shovel your snow, picking on you, and says, you gotta shovel your snow. And you got so many hours to do it. He then goes back again, oh, you haven't shoveled your snow. So then he has to call the person, the designated contractor we have, to come and shovel the snow. But since that designated contractor doesn't work for the city, our community service officers, both are guys, so I can say, he doesn't know, so he's gotta go back and see if, did you shovel your snow? And did the contractor shovel the snow? Then when the contractor shovels the snow and the community service officer realizes it, I'm gonna guess you do, he doesn't, but somebody sends the property owner a bill. That's 7 human touches to shovel your snow. Here's the part you're not gonna like, shovel your snow.
Yeah,
If you
well-
don't, you're gonna get a $200 bill. Now, if it's my mom, who passed away, but she had dementia, we're gonna tear the bill off. We're not gonna bill them. But if it's somebody that, what we found when we looked at this, 85% of the show snow were the same people. The other thing that happens is if you don't pay the bill, it's on your property tax, so don't worry about it. You're gonna pay it when you pay your property tax.
And what happens?
Now, the lawn thing's a little, the snow, the reason the snow is like, shovel your snow, lawn's different. If we don't shovel the snow within a day, and it becomes ice, it's way more to clean it, it really is a risk. If you don't mow your lawn, you're gonna get a warning. And to mow your yard, there's one more step in there. The other thing we did is we found out that, 48 hours after a snowstorm, we have guys in the city that can shovel your snow. So we're gonna shovel the snow. We're not gonna farm it out. We're gonna try to do it ourselves. The lawn is a little different again, because it's not a safety risk like your snow is. So the lawn, we said, no, we're still gonna charge you $200. And if you have a corner lot and it's more than that, you're probably gonna get more. And we'll see how it goes. But again, now if it's, somebody that didn't shovel their snow, and I use this as an example, maybe they're out of town, maybe it's a senior that didn't know any better, then you call your older person and say, hey, and I promise you, we're not trying to do that. That's a very fair, we're talking about snow and a $200 bill, it's not gonna break the city. At some point, again, city streets to snow.
City offices?
City offices?
City cameras.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, let's talk about
Okay.
that.
You know, this is kind of, what's the show with Anna, where they do the Wheel of Fortune? I could have done that. Give me a C. Give me a.
What letter do you
flock
think
cam-
this is?
I didn't mean to, I didn't mean to cut you off.
I was trying to figure
but
out-
City cameras. Which I'm looking around, we were driving last night, and Susan's like, those are flock cameras. I'm like, no, not there. So, all the cameras are not flock cameras. There's only 5, whatever, good or bad, flock cameras. Flock is the name of the company. That's how we call it that. And one could be anywhere. It's free beds mostly. And the other 4 are stationary, and they're permanently here, they're hooked up. And the good side of it is, yes, it's another means of enforcement. It's another aid for the police department to make Baraboo safer. And there's a lot, you look at it, it makes some sense. The bad side of it, like anything, it could be abused. When it came, it was interesting, because it was one of the rare times I sit on the safety, the police meeting. I'm your
Public
designated
safety,
public
yeah.
safety representative. And we split the vote, which we rarely do. So it was an interesting conversation. So what we came up with, and we're doing it, is the chief, we have a new police chief, he's really trying hard. He reports every month to us everything that happened on flock cameras. Because I wanted some oversight, so that you can't use, now it only, let's clear some things up here. It doesn't see you, it only reads your driver's plate number. You can go through a flock camera at 250 miles an hour, and it's not gonna change your life. It just reads your plate number. You can make a left turn on one that's a no left turn, and nothing's gonna happen to you. It just reads your plate number. Al Capone can be driving your car, and we're not going to go arrest him. It just reads the plate number. So in the month of January, we had 3, I think they were seniors, I'm not sure, it doesn't matter, you correct me, that were lost, that were missing, that were MIA, that the flock camera identified, and we were able to go help them. They were dementia-related situations. We had 2 people that were bad guys that had identified, and the police were able to make contact with them. And we had one situation where we had an out-of-town no gender, bad guy, and they came through our flock system, and the police were able to apprehend him. And I don't know where they became a bad guy, because the Dallas or Reedsburg. Mike, this is a 1-year trial program. It's not costing you anything. The cameras themselves, I forget, I think it was $20,000, something like that. Some businesses gave the money, a grant to do that. Yes, there are communities, you go online and you see things and it's like, whoa, we can't let that happen here. But I think that's the elected person's responsibility. There has to somewhere be oversight. It's when the oversight goes away, you see it and it's like, no, law enforcement's good, but it needs oversight. Somebody needs to be saying, okay, this is the check. And that's where we are in flock cameras right now. We're 1 month into it. Let me have it, blast me.
I have concerns. I have major concerns with that. You can, and I have never spoken up, and it took me a lot to come here. And I want to say, preface this, that I really appreciate the fact that you're the only person that has ever hosted a town hall meeting like this, that I've seen in the decades that I've lived here. So I appreciate that.
That was the good side. I'm sitting down.
And I'm really gonna try to keep it to.
No,
keep
just,
it
we'll just have a
together.
conversation. Tell me why, help me out, understand, assume I know nothing about it, which is a good assumption. What are your concerns?
I am not data to be sold. I'm a living, breathing human being. Where I go is my business. Nobody else's business. If I wanna go to Wendy's for 3 months and I decide to go to McDonald's, that's nobody's business of where I go.
Okay.
I can understand that it helps in certain circumstances. However, we do have a 4th Amendment to the Constitution, which is the supreme law of the land. I should be okay in my car to drive. I pay for my car, I pay for my registration, I pay for my license plate. I don't need that.
And you paid your bill.
And don't even get me started on that, I have a laundry list for you. However, my whereabouts, are nobody's business.
So for you, it's the concern that it's tracking.
Exactly.
Okay.
And I am not a piece of data to be housed in anybody's database.
It is a fair concern. And
I
it's
am
a
not on
concern I've
board.
heard. So,
I
yeah.
am not on board, and you can say, well, this time we did it for 3 people, and this month we did it for 2 people. However, that's a blanket policy to surveil the mass public.
No, the way it works is if you go through the flock camera and you're a bad guy, then you get coded. And so if I'm in Montana and you go through their flock camera, it's gonna look you up and tell them that you're in Montana. So that's right. And so this sharing, I can kind of try to, your point is right in that I can try to oversee it in Baraboo. But what's to say the guy or gal in Montana isn't
It's
abusing
already
it?
gone.
Right.
Once
right.
it catches you, it's already gone. Baraboo doesn't have it in their computers
No, we-
anymore.
So,
It goes to
excuse,
cloud.
so what data is being collected and what data is being kept? And is it like a surveillance camera in a business?
No.
No.
It's not that sophisticated. You give us too much credit.
No,
It's-
it
No,
has
so,
capabilities.
so
Ours
I'm
does not.
asking
No,
for.
Let me just be clear.
Oh.
It reads your license plate.
Right.
It is digital.
And what does it do with
It has
that?
no AI component to it.
Nothing.
Nothing.
Does it
If
save
you're-
it?
If you're not registered, nothing.
Okay.
If you have a record, or somebody went in, this is where it could be abused. Somebody went in and said, oh, we know you. You maybe aren't a bad guy, but we're gonna code you. Now, whenever you go through a flock, it's gonna trick that to 911. I think it's 911 where it goes. You gotta go someplace with a police officer, just to dispatch to say you're there. But honestly, I can tell you, because I tell you, this system does not, it does not have AI capability. It is simply a digital system. It reads your license plate.
And that's
But
not
it
what
only,
says in the
it only
contract.
trips it if.
No, it actually did, you should get the current contract, because he's not running it yet, but Dave Olson had it changed. So make sure you've got the one that actually, because Alderman Dave Olson he actually read the darn thing and brought it to our attention. So I wanna make sure you've got the current, and if you don't, let me know, let's get you that, because it is digital, it does not read anything beyond your plate. And I can show you in writing where it says that,
Okay, great, let's.
to help you. And
And
that wasn't
to-
me, it was Dave.
To her concern, the only thing that would get flagged is if that vehicle is reported stolen or
Missing.
Like
lost
that license plate
senior
is entered,
who
right?
owns that
It
vehicle.
only looks for the license plates that are
Right.
entered.
Yep.
Correct.
Okay.
That's
but
how, that's how they
there-
caught the guy who murdered the woman in Mineral Point. He stole her
Yes.
car, put the body in
Yes.
the back seat,
Right.
and they tracked him, and because the license plate was hot.
Now,
And that's why they stopped him out in Iowa, as they saw the plate.
To defend your case, again, that's why these are good, it's a conversation. We do not do this in Baraboo. I can't speak for every community. Let's say that, Mike, your house gets robbed. And it's a repeat deal. So I look up under the flock camera. First, I don't have a flock camera that's just gonna zero in on his neighborhood. Don't have it. We don't have that. We could. And I say, I wanna see every repeat person that, because probably a crook probably drove by your house 3-4 times, I don't know, case the train. And I wanna see that, okay, you drove by that house 6 times. Our system isn't we aren't set to do that, but you could set the system to do that.
So it's only picking up on.
So then I come to you and say, I have, only probable cause I have is you tripped my flock camera 6 times.
Okay, that was another concern.
Ours is not set to do it, but but the contract is such that you could do that. You're absolutely right. I have tried I'm doing the best I can to try to find a middle ground. Now, this is a 1-year trial program. So if something happens in Baraboo that you hear about, that's just like, wow, that's where we can, please let me know. I do believe, though, that our chief is on the same page I am. I think so you can't go into that system without the chief knowing you went into it. As an
Right,
officer.
but then where's the transparency? So, and it can be hacked, so
Well, I'm
let's,
sure any system can be.
and over a Wi-Fi connection, and there've been dozens and dozens and dozens of people that have hacked it just using a Wi-Fi. So let's think of this, you're, a domestic violence survivor, right? And the idiot that you were with knows how to hack systems, which it's not hard, because all you need is a Wi-Fi connection in order to do it, right? And he happens to know your license plate. Oh, I know where she was. That's a problem. That's a big, big problem. And then the other, fact, I've got more things on this, and I'll try to wrap it up, but this is really, really
I can.
not okay, not okay. And you can try and justify it, or the chief, or whoever, I don't really care, it's infringing on my rights. I'm afraid, I feel less safe, because it's a digital, coding of my personal private property.
Well, noted, and now I'm gonna pull out my Tip O'Neill quote. All politics is equal. Here's a situation where we're talking about federal and national issues, but it's local. And I can't find somebody to run for the district that Dave Olson is in. We have an open district, we can't. Yeah, you're in that district, as you laughed. Isn't that your other person? Picking on you, Candy, sorry. You know? Tell me this job's not important. Yeah, it's not as fancy, you don't quite have the same benefit package that they do in the Senate. But all politics is local. So you came, and I hope you feel you got heard. This is not a slam dunk. I'm sorry.
Well, I was gonna say something that would help. Next time, can we discuss what safeguards have been put in place, and not just that we have the chief's word, but what, because we can trust the chief and say he is an amazing man, and I trust him with everything that I've got, but that doesn't mean I trust the company that does the flock cameras, and what kind of safeguards do we have? Because she has a valid concern, but by the same token, it does provide some pretty amazing safety options for us. And, you know, we carry cell phones, and so we gave up our right to privacy long ago when we started carrying these stupid tracking devices.
But not everybody has them.
Not everybody does, I agree with you.
Well, I think it's a conversation that stays under this. Love the idea about not only discussing, I always want to discuss it, but let's document. I can, you know, I'm the one I'm the yes vote. I was the swing vote. On a 3-person committee. One guy says no, you know, another guy says yes. So I guess I was the swing vote. Because I can see the good in it, but I also, and one of my best friends, Bob Capel, wrote me a 2-page email. I think he copied everybody in the city. I used Bob's name out of respect. He's a really good guy. And he said, yep, I hear you. And I probably had, I don't get feedback from constituents, but I probably had 25, 30 emails negative on the flock camera system that came through. So I know that it's an issue, I know it's a concern. And again, what I try to wrestle is the good with the bad. I'm not discounting what you're saying. So for this is a trial year. I don't think anybody, this is not permanent. So it's a conversation that stays on the list.
Okay, so if it stays on the list, is it gonna, I mean, I'm assuming we're having another voting this spring for the school district.
I didn't mean to catch up, but it's gonna be, we voted for flock cameras. 3 months ago?
September?
Okay, so it comes, so next September is where it comes up again. We've given it a 1-year trial unless something happens. And I pushed the chief, and the chief is very aware of the concern. And his first report was this last month. Now it will be monthly, and we refined it a little bit. I'm happy to share that with you if you think we should be asking other questions. I said before, so often if you're getting not the right information, it's because you're not asking the right questions. That him and I kind of came up with the questions that's in his report. It's actually the second time we refined it. So if you send me an email, I'll send you the report, and you can look at it and say, hey, I think you should, this is good, but these are some things, I have to be careful because there are some privacy rights there. I don't want to know who was lost and got caught. There's a point where, he has to be, if he was subpoenaed, he has to be able to document what he says. So he just can't give me off the fly. But for now, I can take his word that it was 3 people with dementia. But if somebody challenges that, I'm going to guess he would have to say it's John Doe. So that's kind of, and you're not the only one with the concern. I don't know, it's one of those issues, we don't get a lot of feedback. So are the majority of people in Baraboo for flock cameras or not for flock cameras? I couldn't really tell you.
There was a survey on one of the community pages a few months ago, and out of 130 people, I mean, I don't know the exact numbers, I'm doing this from memory, but about 130 people that, commented or, did the thumbs up, whatever you call it on social media. 94 of those 130 wanted them removed.
So, yep, any other on flock cam?
Are those reports on the website or anything, or?
Which yeah, actually, the one I'm talking
Yeah.
about, it is,
Just so-
but we don't have our website down very good. If you wanna see it today, go to the City of Baraboo, go to the agenda, go to the last week's Monday public safety meeting. You'll see a little asterisk under the chief's reports, and there it is.
Or we could.
Or you can email me and I'll send you the link.
I just didn't know if it was.
But yeah, we're working on our website.
To go back to the beginning, because you lost me along the way, but tell me again how you were persuaded that this was efficient? I mean, I know that you can occasionally find a demented elder and a bad guy, but, you know, throwing a lot of this stuff out there does have a cost. It has some off-target effects and it requires people drive by your camera. What was it that made you think it was effective?
What made me think it was effective is the number of conversations I had with other than non-Baraboo law enforcement. That was one. The second was, and I know that Chief was doing a sales job. I respect that. I read everything he sent me, and I read about the Fourth Amendment. I read why the court said, no, it doesn't apply in this case. That doesn't mean it could change. It goes to higher courts. We all know that, I don't know what level of court that was. So I spent, because I got quite a bit of pushback, I spent quite a bit of time reading, probably more than I usually do. And just came up to the conclusion, good and bad. And at the end of the day, I sat there, and one of the things, and this, you please correct me if this is not logical thinking. I could put a police officer at every entrance to the city of Baraboo, and they could read your license plate. There's nothing illegal about that.
I
And
hear
they could
that-
have a list
I
of-
hear there are law enforcement people that
Now, I
do
don't
that.
have the law enforcement people to do that, you're absolutely right, but I mean, I could do that. I could station them any place I want, and, if I had that luxury of labor, we don't have that many law enforcement. So I looked at it and said, well, it does do that. I see very well where I'm gonna go someplace I don't wanna go because I don't wanna get in this conversation. I really don't, because we get kicked out in 15 minutes. What would happen if ICE came in and said, hey, here's everybody from ICE, we wanna put them in your camera system and pick them up? That has not happened, but by having the technology, we open ourselves up to it. So I did think of that. I try to be, I don't wanna say I'm a big thinker, you're the big thinker, I'm not. But I thought, wow, and by doing this, I do open myself up. If I didn't have it, I could just say, can't do it, don't have it. That has not happened. So for now, I can sit there and say 3 people with dementia got found, and a bad guy got picked up. And we're just getting going.
But they were installed in September.
They really weren't. It didn't work right away. There was a problem. They were supposed to be. Again, we're the city. That's the They've been up now for about 90 days, I think. He said, I'm looking at you, you may know, may not know. I don't mean to put you on the spot. Initially, when they were supposed to be put in, there was a problem. It wasn't anything to do with protesting. It didn't work the way they wanted it.
So on something like this, why don't you put it on an election and let the city and let the people vote?
That's a good question. That's a great question. I can tell you the present mayor we have, who I actually am, I like Rob, so let me be careful here. He would say adamantly no. He is adamantly no. He doesn't want that. He feels the city council and the mayor can make a better choice. I would be inclined to say that there's some merit in what you just said. And I also have to be careful as an alderperson. I've got great new leaders in the city in certain spots, and some days they are ready, fire ready. And I don't want to stifle their passion, and enthusiasm, but sometimes we need to slow it down and just to make sure we're getting everything. So, there are multiple times I've thought, why don't we put this to, and you could argue and say, well, that's what I'm paying you guys for, you'd be right. But I also don't know necessarily, sometimes we get into these issues and we don't see the bigger picture, and then the public helps us and teaches us the bigger picture. That happens a lot with me. We had one the other day. I'll give you an example. We did the bonehead thing, not that I have an opinion on this, of leasing our police cars. And it was gonna be the savior of the world, with a 9.5% money factor, not thinking, hey, that's interesting. Let's just say the plan wasn't working. But one of the things that made it look good for the moment that you leased them is you sold your old ones at an influx of cash. But you know what the problem is now? I don't have any old ones to trade in. So specifically, it comes and hurts me in the detective, you correct me if I'm wrong, hurts me in the detective area. I have 4 cars that are leased, and they were lousy the day we got them. They were rental cars that we leased. Think about that. But I gotta come up with 150, 180 grand at least to get new squad cars for these 4, and I don't have it. I think it was the Democrats, whoever met in Milwaukee, they got all kinds of government money when they met. And they got equipment and gear out the ears. And they came up with a program that says, look, if you want equipment, apply for it, and it's free. Free, and we have squad cars, and they're free. So I go skipping to the public safety meeting thinking, we are taking 4 cars and we fixed the problem. And I'm gonna pick on Dave because he's a good guy, comes to the meeting, he says, absolutely not. And what do you think his objection was? I just wanna see if everybody else sees it. They're also giving away SWAT vehicles, automatic rifles, gas blow torches, all the things you have if you have a major riot. And I'm going there thinking I can get tourniquets and squad cars. But the contract says you can get anything you want, carte blanche. All the nasty stuff you see on these public riots. And I never thought of that going into the meeting. I was thinking 3, 4 squad cars. I wasn't thinking a SWAT vehicle that has 8 command, that's not something I want in the city of Baraboo. But Dave brought that up. And we were able to we said we put in squad cars and tourniquets. That's all we're doing. But I never saw it. Dave went to the meeting with the idea, no, we're not gonna do this because we could get equipment that's not have oversight. I didn't think of that. I'm not that smart. That's your older person. So.
When you talk about having an election, which I agree, we should have an election, so that occurs. Do you remember the election we voted on the tax?
Isn't that great?
I doubled it.
Let me qualify your election. It needs to be a binding referendum.
Yes.
But it wasn't a binding. The referendum we're having for Steve, for the schools, he was sitting right here, before he got into the superintendent's school, is a binding referendum. So if you vote no on the schools referendum, you don't get the money, it's not happening. On the wheel tax, it wasn't a binding referendum, so it was where the paper was written. This would need to be a binding referendum. Well, let's get to it. Well, let's
We
get to it.
don't know that.
Nobody, but nor did I. Now, because I wasn't here that I can say, but it should have been a binding referendum.
And that's tough, if you're not attending those meetings over a time, or you're not sitting here and hearing
No,
what else goes
I am
on
not that
in
smart.
the
This
business
takes me 20 hours a week.
It is tough
To
if
do
you
this
just hear
job.
$40 wheel tax, nope, I'm not doing it, okay, but why are you doing it? To inform, and this is why you have leadership, and why you elect your leaders.
I have not had a chance to really study the streetlight tax code. It's a tax. Who walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's a duck. It's a tax, and here's the thing on that. How much money do you think we make on the streetlight tax? It's less than $100,000. For less than $100,000, we get the right to antagonize the other daylights out all week. I just saw that in the 2026 budget, it's in there, and I thought, really? And then we have a hydrant tax.
The head of public works.
Other questions or issues that I can
does people live in the city?
Duck and not answer.
Good information, Brett. Always learn something. Always learn something.
How do you find out
Well, talk about, you don't have to worry about me getting, or being hacked. Not very, I put it out on Facebook, I put it out on LinkedIn, I'm open to put it out other ways, you just tell me how to do it. I'm trying the best I can, so if you're not on the social media, but just for the record, this town hall posting had 19,000 views
For today?
for today.
Yeah, you have it on Baraboo United, right?
I have Baraboo United, I have Baraboo Community Conversation, I got it on the city. So it gets, I don't know how to read that stuff, but like, there's 19,000 views. How, where are those people? I guess if you look at it and you're
Just if it shows up.
out of my focus, it comes as a view and.
Hello, nice to see you.
And I'm happy to put it any other place you want. I can't put it on the city website.